Hello, runners. We're glad to have you back. I'm Coach Joe, and this is
I'm
my
Coach
friend.
Dean.
Yeah, that's Coach Dean. And we're in Sacramento
We are.
at the World Masters Athletics, which is track and field. In other countries, they call it athletics championships. And what is the name of our spot that we're on?
We are on Runner's World. Another
trademark
copyright
violation.
violation. I'm glad I got my lawyer close by.
Yeah, exactly. This is a non-commercial use. No, believe me, if you knew what we made off this, it's a non-commercial use.
It is very non-commercial.
So we're going to talk about track meets and continuing kind of the discussion we were having. And I'll start by saying, looking around, the athletes are amazing. I saw this one shot putter, looked like a lumberjack, and I thought she was going to kick my scrawny little track and field butt. No, I mean these are serious people.
Very serious.
Muscly, fast,
in shape.
Really cool.
From around the world.
Cool.
Again,
Yes.
behind us now, we got some people from the Canadian national team, just heads the Mexican national team.
Yeah, it's the practice field that's behind us, and you may actually hear some noises. If you hear a gun go off, it is not a
They're
murder.
they're not aiming at us.
Yeah, those are the actual meets or the events that are going on.
Right.
Very cool. But
How do you get here?
Yeah, how do we get here?
How do you get here?
Well, why do you come here?
Well, I came by plane.
Yeah. No, but let's just start with the track and field environment, because a lot of our runners are core people. We talk to marathon runners, and they might be saying, "Why are you talking about track and field?" Track and field is a really different environment. If you're not familiar with it, if you haven't gone out and gone to a local track meet, and it's actually really fun.
It is lots of fun.
It's a very different
and well-run meets are like a three-ring circus, because you've got jumpers, throwers, sprinters, hurdlers, and you got the distance events. So you got things going on, and it's actually hard for the uninitiated eye to actually pay attention to it all.
Yeah, it's true. So it's a lot of fun. It's a real different environment. The pace of it, the competition is really, obviously, really different. But you were asking, how do you get here? And that's the question: is what brings you to this?
So many of us maybe ran in high school, maybe a little bit in college. Then we went to road racing, mainly because there aren't a lot of opportunities for most Masters runners. Now, I happen to be lucky living in the Phoenix area. We have a very diverse and very extensive number of meets that Masters runners can enter. You can do an entire season of track, 12, 14 meets. Like a full season in our area. I know that smaller towns or less developed areas with a good track infrastructure don't do that.
Yeah. So let me contrast that with Oregon, which I live in Oregon, and the level of competition in running is incredible in Oregon, as you might know. Eugene is referred to as Tracktown, USA, and in the Portland area where I live, there are we actually have an indoor track series that runs in the winter. And then lots and lots of series that go on in the summer. You could run track almost every night of the week. There are so many different city leagues and things. I mean, track is a fairly big deal. And we use the term, you were talking about Masters, but there's also the term you might see all-comers meets.
There you go.
And I mentioned that because I wanted my track where I run, which is called Harefield. There's a big sign that said, "Come on out for the all-comers meet." And so I thought, I'm going to go do that on Wednesday night. And so I didn't do my workout that day. I went on Wednesday night, and it was an all-comers meet that started with 50-yard dash and the standing broad jump. Are you getting where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And I think the longest event was maybe the 150 or the 200. It was for kids.
Fun.
It was a kids meet. So do check these things out. But they're all different levels.
Yep. And here's one of the things. So one of the things we talked about before.
I didn't run in that, by the way.
Oh, you
because
didn't?
I thought it'd be a little unfair.
Against the 10-year-olds?
Yeah. I thought it'd be a little
I know.
unfair.
You would look bad against them.
Exactly. Yeah. They're fast. Those little suckers.
One of the things
they run like lumberjacks.
Yeah, exactly. And we got somebody from the Australian team going by. Okay. Australia
just walked by. Good form.
Colombia behind us.
Yeah, it's cool.
But we asked, we were talking about, who should really go to these meets, and are you ready to do one of these meets? And Joe brought up a great point, which is, the best way to know is go to one. Go watch one and say, what's the competition like? What kind of events do they have? And if you're unfamiliar with it, you'll have to get used to the different distances. It's all metric for the most part when they do track meets. And see what it's like. See whether you fit, whether you'd be comfortable there. So one of the things about track and field, which I can never get over, even after all my years, is I can run 100 road races. I don't really get too nervous over them. But on a track, I'll tell you, one of the things about track, you can't hide.
No, yeah.
And so, from lap 1 to the end, you can't hide. I mean, you're there and people watch, and whatever place or whatever pace you're at, you can't hide. In a road race, you kind of go out and you just suddenly you're back and there you are in your place.
Right, and if you're, I made the comment to Dean that, I was worried about being lapped in my race because there were going to be people that are quite a bit faster than me, and then the summary of that conversation, I said, yeah, but let's say I only get lapped once, that means I'm within a quarter mile of the fastest guys in the world in my age group. That's not so bad. In a road race, you'd be like, wow,
I can see him just up in front.
I could actually see the guy finishing. I'm only a minute behind. You'd be really proud of that. But it feels really different on the track.
It does.
Because you feel like you're really straggling.
It does.
When you're kind of falling off the back, and you fall off the back of, let's say, 20 people.
Yeah.
And this is often the position I'm in at the level I'm in. I'm real fast, but not that fast sometimes, so I'm almost always just behind the lead pack.
Right.
And so I end up in that no man's land between where you're all by yourself.
Yeah.
So there'll be like the 5 guys at the front, and then me, and then another guy, and then the pack.
Right.
So that on the track feels kind of horrible.
It does. It does.
It can. But like I said, you have to keep it in perspective,
and you have to know why you're out there. So that's why checking it out first, seeing what events you might be interested in, and they can be very interesting events that aren't usually run. 200s that you may not be familiar with, or 400s. A quarter mile, 400 meters is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I can remember a number of years ago what I used to do is go to the all-comer meets when I was in Tucson, and I'd run 6 and 7 events, even if it wasn't my event. I made it my workout, and it didn't matter that I didn't have much rest in between. So I do the 200, the 400, the 800, the mile, and back then we also did the 2 mile, and that's what I would do on the track.
Yeah, and a friend of mine was at a meet last a couple weeks ago, and he said, next year we should do all the running events.
Yep.
Let's do. He said, actually qualified it later. He said all the running events except for the hurdles.
Except for the hurdles.
Yeah, because none of us want to do the hurdle. But you can do that, and you think you don't have to run every race as a PR, and I mean, if it's the 100 and the 200 and 400, they're not long enough that they're going to kill you to go try your hand at them.
And at least you won't. You're not going to get lapped.
That's true. You can't.
That's the good news.
Yeah, that's right. So it's there's a real diversity, and before we started this discussion, we were talking off camera that you could go to a meet, like I've been to meets where there might be 2 people in an event because it's not a particular event. On the other side of things, it could be like the Masters Championships that they had down in Eugene a few weeks ago was highly competitive, right? I mean, the best of the best were there. So you want to know what you're getting yourself into. That's all. Yeah.
And as you get used to that, get some races under your belt, then you can start to entertain going to more of these USATF sanctioned ones, regional meets, state championship meets that they have for all these open or Masters runners. And then you can think more about, now I feel comfortable enough to start to say, you know what? Why not take a trip? Let's go to Worlds.
Yeah. Oh, and that's great. That's a great point. Is like you ask, well, who's here at Worlds? What are they all superstars? Certainly not.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are here that are obviously just having fun. There are people here that have come from around the world, and they are running in a lot of events. Probably over the course of a week or 10 days, they probably are going to do a bunch of different events, and they're just here to have fun. And that's a neat part of the sport, is the welcoming nature of it.
It is.
Yeah. Talk about USATF real quick. You mentioned them. Some people might not be familiar with the governing body of running in the U.S. What do they do?
Our U.S. Track and Field Association is our national governing body for our sport. They're our liaison to the International Olympic Committee. So we have the U.S. Olympic Committee and then the International Olympic Committees. And all the rules and sanctions and drug testing, all those things that coordinated. Again, so USATF heads that up for our sport here in the U.S. They ladder
up, I think, to the IAAF.
IAAF is our International Athletics Association of Federations, and that's for all track and field associations for the countries that belong to, and we abide by their rules.
And again, that word athletics is what they use most other places to say track and field. That was a bit confusing to people, on Facebook. I'd say I'm off to World Masters Athletics. People were like, what is that? I don't understand.
So the rest of the world, athletics means track and field.
Exactly. which is kind of interesting. Interesting terminology. Is that spelled with an O-U-R? No, that was a British spelling joke.
Yeah.
Nobody got that.
No.
That's all right.
Our Canadian friends did.
Our Canadian friend. You know, I'm half Canadian.
I know that. That's why I said that.
How many times go back, watch all the shows, and tell me in the 90 episodes how many times I've said I'm half Canadian. You know, my mom doesn't understand that, by the way. I said it to her. She goes, "How could you be half Canadian?" I said, "Mom, you're Canadian." She goes, "Oh, yeah, I guess that's true." It was a really strange conversation.
Yeah.
Love you, Mom. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're going to wrap that one up. We have at least one or two more things we want to do here from Sacramento. And then Dean has to go over to the track and watch people actually perform today. He's coaching, and we'll let him off to do that. And then I got to run.
We'll see him tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks for joining us, and we'll have some more topics here soon, and we'll be back.